believe it's possible to have hope and to be hot. And Keeley Hazell is proof of that. Can I talk about how we first met?
Yes, of course.
We matched on Raya. Well, if you don't want to be around for a first date, then stop listening right now.
Somebody got murdered. Here's some dates.
Looking for some Hopecore. We need some Hopecore. Okay, so we're just setting up here, but I put on my hot girl outfit because we're meeting a hot girl who gives us a lot of hope, which is why I created Hopecore. I believe it's possible to have hope and to be hot. And Keeley Hazell is proof of that. Keeley Hazell went from growing up poor in South London to being one of the most famous topless models in the world. And there's this thing called Page 3 in the UK. I don't think they do it anymore, but they would put a topless woman on the third page of every newspaper every day in the Sun, which is nuts. In order to have reparations for that, we should have a man going full frontal on Page 3 for the amount of years that they did that for. But Keeley wrote an incredible book that I'm holding right now. I'm totally holding it. It's not a graphic because I didn't forget it in LA and I didn't order it too late for it to come in time for us to record. The book is called Everyone's Seen My Tits, Stories and Reflections from an Unlikely Feminist. I'm going to be honest with you because it's just you and me. I found out about Keeley because we matched on Raya. And then separately, I have a lot of friends that were doing sort of promotion for her book. Our friend, Frank Leonard, did like a fun little book launch party for her. So we were already destined to meet before we matched on Raya, but sometimes the universe finds a lot of different ways for two people to come together. And that's definitely what happened in this one. Keeley's like a few minutes away. So I'm just setting up and I'm so excited for today's episode. She's here. Hello.
Darling.
How are you?
Oh, good. How are you?
We're already filming you. Are you?
Oh my
do you
God,
consent?
yes, I consent.
Okay, great.
Hi.
Please come in. You look amazing.
So
You. I mean, I had to
look
dress
at
up for Keeley.
Love it. I might have too much boob coming out.
Oh my God,
Looks
perfect.
great.
We need more.
It's like I was like, oh, on the subway, and I was like, oh, jeez.
It looks great. I'm
Right.
obsessed. I'm obsessed. Welcome to our
Oh my
giant
God.
hotel room. As you can tell,
Yes,
it's just
so
a bed.
much
We're
space.
gonna do this interview in bed. Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
We kind of have no choice. Or we do it in the hallway or we do it on the bed.
Yeah, let's do it on the bed.
Okay, great. Get comfy. You
Okay.
can shoes on, shoes off, whatever feels right for you. Are you a treat girl?
I am.
Do you like sweet treats? So
What have we got
basically
here?
we have a chocolate chip cookie with like salt
Yum.
sprinkled on top, which is such a vibe. They started doing that like 5 years ago and now, and I think we should it should be the law. So yeah, feel free to grab one or not. We can.
I mean,
we
I
can
feel
think
like I
about it.
should at some point. It'd be rude.
It's there.
not to-
It's there for you. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Hopecore. This is a show about how to have hope and be hot because we believe at Hopecore that those things are not mutually exclusive. And we have the best person, the best guest to show that ethos. You live that ethos every day. Keeley Hazell, who wrote an incredible book that I'm holding right here. Yes, it's in real life because I didn't forget it in my
And I
apartment
didn't
in
forget
LA.
it either,
I literally
yeah.
have like 2 copies and then I tried to order one and it didn't come in time. And then I DM'd you on Instagram to bring a copy and then you didn't get it.
No, and I didn't read it because I deleted the app from my phone.
Oh,
to have,
that's
like a break.
good.
And then I had to download it to message you when I got it.
Oh my
and then I was
gosh.
like, oh shit. I
I'm
missed.
sorry you had to re-download Instagram because of me. I never
No,
want to be
it's-
associated with that. So Keeley grew up in South London, working class, and you became the most famous topless woman in Britain. Fact check.
I would say, yeah, fact check. There were some other women that were also famous, like
But
Samantha
you-
Fox in the 80s.
Right.
And then a woman called Katie Price who went by Jordan would
Okay.
also be.
You-
but I was up there.
You were pretty famous. You're
Yeah.
pretty famous.
My boobs were out there.
Yes,
A lot
they-
of people had seen them.
And a lot of people like them.
Yeah.
So there's this newspaper called The Sun, right? And there's a Page 3 on it. Every day would have a photo of a topless woman. And you were the most recurring, right? Like you had been on the Page 3 the most in your
Yeah.
generation.
Of my time, possibly.
Yeah.
I was featured the most out of the week. So on Saturday and Sunday, they didn't have topless
Okay.
photos. It was
Okay.
just Monday to Friday.
Okay.
And I would be featured at least once a week or once a fortnight.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we're going to go into that. But basically, you have this incredible story. You also inspired a character in Ted Lasso. You survived revenge porn and you wrote an incredible book with the best title I've ever heard. Everyone has seen my tits. What's the subtitle?
Stories and reflections from an unlikely feminist. Feminist.
There we go.
And this is like kind of our first date.
It is a first. Okay,
This is
is
like
this
a
a first
first
date?
date.
Sorry,
Yeah.
you're here.
You're here, guys.
Well, if you don't want to be around for a first date, then stop listening right now. You look way better than me for our first date. I think I would
That
have
is
dressed
not
differently.
true.
I
You
think I
look
would have dressed differently.
fantastic.
Oh my God, thank you. So let's go back to Keeley as a baby or as a little girl. How can you describe how you
I would
grew
say
up?
working class, and I don't say necessarily poor until my dad left when I was 13, and then that's when my mom had no money. And so then poor. It was like before then I didn't really feel poor, and then when my dad left, it was like, oh, now we ain't got no money.
And paint us a picture. What does that mean?
That means like food stamp kind of thing. So I'm trying to think what the equivalent.
Sure.
Like in school, I would get like food stamp. My mom would get credits from the government. It would just mean like the electricity and gas were all on meters and would all be switched off for certain periods of time.
Oh,
so the
wow.
heating was only on for certain hours. My mom was like, would go around the room anytime like a light wasn't being used. Everything had to be switched off. Money was really tight. It was a struggle.
What you're describing is like there was a lot of scarcity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you think about how to pull yourself out of it? Was that even on your mind or were you just in survival mode?
I got a job.
Yeah.
So when I was 13, I got a job in a hair salon and made £15 for a Saturday.
For a whole day?
For a whole day.
That's not minimum wage. That's not.
No.
That's not okay.
But I did get, when I'd go in the mornings, they would always get McDonald's breakfast. And so that felt like a win.
Oh, you got free breakfast?
I got free breakfast and £15 for a whole day's
Okay.
work. That was my way, because it was like the only way I could have money.
Yeah.
Was getting this job, and then I would go and spend it all on booze and fags. And
Right. What are fags?
Cigarettes. Yeah.
Cigarettes. How then do you pivot into becoming the most famous model in Britain overnight, right? You were 18. You were
I was
really
18,
young.
So young. Like crazy.
Yes.
It's like so wild.
Yeah.
So I left school when I was 16. I worked full time in a hair salon. When I was there, a woman I was training under was like, I think you should model. I like kind of looked in the mirror and I was like, for the blind? I was like, who am I modeling for? And
You
she's
didn't
like,
feel pretty.
no. And I think also like, I wasn't really like, I didn't make much of an effort. Like I'd go into the salon, like no makeup, hair was just like, you know,
Yeah.
it was like dyeing. My hair's like really dark. And then I was like dyeing like bits of it with bleach. So it looked like I had like bird shit in my hair, like at weird points. I felt like I was really skinny and that lent itself to being a model. But otherwise I was like, I'm too short. Like I've seen models and they don't look like
Wow.
this.
Wow.
And then she was like, commercial modeling. There's this model that comes in and gets her hair done. And she like, you know, does catalogs. And she was just on this TV show this morning modeling the clothes. And I was like, what is this modeling?
Yeah.
And she came in that day to get her hair cut. And I like remember sizing her up being like, okay, we're kind of like the same height. And also she arrived in this like Mercedes SL and she had like a fancy design handbag. And I turned to Lynn, who was training her, and I was like, how do I get these things?
Sure.
I'll model.
Yes,
I
I'll do anything,
I'll do
right?
anything. And she sent me to a photographer. I had some test pictures taken, sent them off. I ended up winning this competition at 17. The photographer who I worked with was like, I think you should do like glamour modeling. And I was like, and he's like page 3, like I think you could be really good.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know. Anyway, I entered another competition when I turned 18 and ended up winning that.
And then
the start of
how did it? What was your
everywhere.
first photo shoot where you were topless? Like how? Like take us through because you're young, right? And
Yeah.
you're not in school. You're working a job that's really difficult. So it must have felt like sure, I'll do anything to sort of get out of that situation. But was there any worries or what was your?
Yeah, so much.
Yeah.
I think just because of the topless nature of it.
Yeah.
And, I'm not like, even though I do have a little bit, as we keep talking
A
about.
little bit. You know what a little bit looks like? This. This is what a little bit looks like.
Like, I wouldn't say, like, being topless is something that, like, it provokes a lot of then embarrassment. And so I kind of was just like, I don't know.
Why is it embarrassing?
I just kind of felt like, my body's out. Like, I was 18. I was like,
right.
a teenager, and I just wasn't comfortable in who I was. Now I think it's a different story, but then it's like you're so young, so insecure, and also just how women who were sexualized reviewed and stereotyped.
Yeah.
And so I kind of was just like, I don't know, like if this is something now, like how I'm never going to be taken seriously. Right. Not that I was being taken seriously at all. It was just a hard decision of like, and I'm now going to be known and people are going to see, like my parents, my grandparents, my like best friend's parents, like the guy up at the shop. Like just that idea of everybody seeing me topless was like, you know, mortifying.
Scary.
Yeah.
And what happens? So you do this first shoot, obviously it goes well. Like, how does that change your life?
So I won this competition in the Sun, which is called Page Through Idol. Then immediately it was, you know, like I was in the papers all the time.
Yeah.
And I got sent on this vacation to Trinidad and Tobago. It just overnight, somehow my face was sort of everywhere.
And what does that feel like? What is that, you know, there must have been a part of you that was like excited about that, right? And, or was it always very complicated?
I think it was complicated, but there definitely was excitement in some way in terms of like, wow, now I'm like traveling and I'm going to these places and I'm meeting all these like cool and interesting people.
Yeah.
And I'm making money. Yeah. I was like, wow, I'm going to be rich.
Yeah.
And so I think that was like incredibly exciting. But then at the same time, it came with the other side of it, which was like, oh, and now I'm topless in this newspaper. And, you know, my boyfriend's breaking up with me because he's so embarrassed because, you know, he's dating a girl that's a page 3 model and that's like looked down upon. It was complicated in that sense.
I think it's always really complicated when you're a woman living in patriarchy. You know, having your body be objectified but also like revered by men is both the best thing you can be and the worst thing you can be, right? Being a slut, right, is the best and the worst. Like I think I've talked about this being like 14 or 15, obviously never sort of in the position that you were in where all of this was so amplified. But I think realizing as a teenager, oh, I get rewarded when I like bought one G-string when I was 14. It was like buying contraband, like I had to like hide it from my mom. If guys saw that I was wearing a G-string, right, like if it like stuck out, then I would get sort of rewarded with attention, with positive male attention, end up also being negative. And I was like, wait, you want me to be sexy, but you also hate me for being sexy, right?
Yes.
And did you feel that, even again with your boyfriend, that being your boyfriend was probably great, right? I'm sure you were more than a trophy girlfriend to him, but that could be one way of seeing it, where other men are like, oh wow, you get to date this beautiful woman, and that gives him status as a man. But then there's also this like shame of like, but you're dating a topless. It's like, wait, is it good or is it bad? Do you want women to be sexual or do you not want it? And I feel like that confusion, like this sort of unspoken rule of the patriarchy, which makes being a woman inside the patriarchy a very confusing experience.
Yes. 100%.
Yeah.
I think that it is like men want you to be sexy, but then they also want to shame you, or like they want it for themselves. It's like they kind of want to control that sexuality. And so for me and the boyfriend at the time, I think it was both like like it was a boastful thing. They could be like, look at my girlfriend. Yes. And at the same time, it was shameful and embarrassing because guys would make fun of him.
Right.
And so it is hard in that sense because you're like, you know, you're rewarded and then shamed.
Yeah.
Which is like just the experience of being a woman all the time in every sense. It's
yes. Like, and then you also get shamed not just from men, but I'm sure from feminists, right? Or from other women who look down, again, say you're, you know, sort of giving women a bad name, or you're participating in, you know, the patriarchal,
like
you know,
the oppressive system.
The oppressive system, and you're, you know, setting us back or whatever. Did you feel that too?
Yes, I didn't. Well, I didn't really know what feminism was. I didn't at all until I was 21. And so when I was modeling, I didn't know, but I felt a sense from women. There was like, in a way, I was firstly a threat to them. It was like, oh, you're obviously going to try and steal my boyfriend. You're like, I really don't care about Steve, like at all. You can have him. And then when I've kind of started understanding society more, like patriarchy and feminism, there was this sense, because I think at the time feminists thought that women who were being, you know, seen as being sexual contributed to rape culture in some sort of way.
Yes.
And so that was really difficult, because at the same time it was like I couldn't quite understand. For me, I was like, no, I don't know if necessarily modeling is a feminist act, but it's an act of social mobility and it's a class struggle. And I kind of felt like feminism and women were like middle class women then looking down on women who had to survive in some sort of way and were using their sexuality for that survival to make enough money to be able to like be middle class. And it's like, what are my choices here?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
What do you want me to do?
Right. I love that you brought up class because it is really a through line in your book, right? And I think exposes weakness of feminism, I think, in certain strands of it, or in some ways that it's sort of practiced, which is it's been a little bit more obvious in the last few years that feminism doesn't always do a good job of concerning itself with race and being intersectional with race. And obviously we're like not there yet at all. I think that the lack of intersection with class is not as like discussed. And obviously that also intersects with race. I think what you're saying is so interesting, which is, you know, that you're being maybe looked down upon by women who have the privilege not to, you know, objectify themselves for money because of their sort of class. Like, was that something you encountered?
Yes. And there was a lot of conversations I had once I'd stopped modeling in my early 20s with people who came from sort of privileged backgrounds. And they're like, oh, you know, they kind of saw page 3 as like, they wouldn't do it themselves, but they wouldn't not do it, but they also they weren't in a position where they had to.
Yeah.
And so I think for many women who come from privileged backgrounds, it's like you have other options. And so you're probably not going to do that unless you actually, you know, maybe you see, well, I'm going to make a lot of money doing this and maybe I'd prefer to do that. Or in a lot of cases, women used it to meet rich husbands. They're like, I'm going to do this and it's going to springboard me and I'm going to marry someone and now, you know. But it definitely was a conversation in terms of, like, for me anyway. And I think that class intersects with it so much.
Yeah.
And my story is more about class and the limitations and then how feminism comes in. It's like, what comes first, survival or feminism? And I think it's survival and then it's feminism. Even if you make choices that are for survival and they don't necessarily align, that's where, you know, it might make any sense.
No, I think that's like a really insightful. I mean, I think about the way that I used to view sex work, right? Which obviously is different, you know, from the work you were doing. But I remember being like 19 or 20, being in Cégep. I grew up in Montreal. So there's this weird in-between university and high school that's called Cégep. It's just 2 years of like hanging out and like figuring out what you want to do with your life. And it was wonderful.
That's right.
But that's when I really came into, I mean, I had feminist consciousness just because, you know, sort of what happened. There was a lot of like sexual violence in my family and there's a big history there. So I was like aware of it from a young age, but I became much more sort of academic about it, started reading more books. And I remember one of the first sort of campaigns that I was working on in our school was this idea of like objectification, or we call it like la marchandisation. I grew up in French. La marchandisation du corps de la femme, which means like the turning it into a product, right? That you are selling. So it wasn't just that we found it wrong that women were being objectified, but that you could put a price on a woman, right? Yes. That was the part that I think from a visceral sort of perspective, when you do have the privilege to choose whatever work you want to do, that made sense at the time. And I think that was one of my biggest, I don't want to evolution, like I'm so, you know, but through reading and reading work from sex workers and realizing just how I was actually upholding the patriarchy by shaming women who participated in, you know, this kind of work. And that also men set up the system where that's a way, and a very common way for women, especially if you're not able to access, you know, that social mobility that you're talking about. That's not women's fault. And there's also nothing wrong with it. Like as you were growing, did your relationship to your body and to the work that you were doing, did it also evolve? Did you ever not feel that shame?
I think the shame is always present. And I think that that's just like a shame for women, because in anything you do, you're just shamed, right? I think at some point, for me, I quit modeling. And when I was 22, and I took kind of back control in the sense, like after this revenge porn had happened to me, it was like that violation.
So you had a boyfriend basically release, you know, footage of right?
Yes.
And it happened before revenge porn had a term, right? Before it was a thing. Coined. You could,
Yeah.
So it was
like no name.
Right.
Which was just at the time so confusing because nobody felt like there was any violation that took place.
Wow.
It's almost like saying to somebody, you know, this guy just like grabbed me and like shoved his finger, and people are like, oh, cool. Like, what did you have for breakfast?
Right.
And you're like, how do you not see this being a problem?
Yes. Or like, why were you out in public then?
But that's always been just like the way society, like the questions with women, it always comes back to a woman. It's like, what were you wearing when he raped you?
Yeah.
Why did you record this video? So that was like the question at the time. Well, why did you record it? It's like, I don't know. I record videos of me doing headstands. I actually recorded a video of me taking shit. Like, I mean, I didn't expect anyone to see it.
Yeah.
I was just on the toilet and bored.
Right, sure.
And so I think it's interesting in that sense that it always comes around. And I wonder if it's because, you know, coming up against men, we don't want to, it's like easier to then blame the woman than it is to actually go against the abuser or against the man.
Yeah, totally. What did you learn about men through your line of work? Through them, you know, desiring you, but also shaming you. And you probably had many encounters with dudes on the street or men coming up to you at parties. Like, what was that like? And what did you learn? Like, how did it change your view of men?
I think, I don't know if I always just thought men were gross and then I continued to think they were.
You were like, yeah, confirmed.
I was like, confirmed. Men are disgusting. I think I compartmentalized so much through modeling, and the way in which I present in real life is like so different than the photographs. So for me, there was like such a separate, like it was separate. I didn't really necessarily see myself as this girl that was like this fantasy in these images. But I learned is men just love seeing women naked. I mean, I don't know if there was anything major.
One thing that I think about a lot, because I think men are gross too. And like men are just like in it for one thing. But then like you'll meet guys that change your mind about it.
Yes.
Right? Did that happen?
Yes. And most of my guy friends, I would say now, are not like that at all.
Okay.
And so there are men. Like, I think that there are men that are not, you know, just objectifying women and they like really respect them and love them and want great relationships.
Yeah.
Like, I think that is true.
Right.
But then I also think that there are, you know, men that just view women as objects and don't treat them with respect.
What was your best interaction with a man? Like, is there a man that you encountered during that time that like gave you hope in men?
There has to be. Yeah. Searching through the Rolodex. Like, for sure. I think there are, men that I'm friends with or men that friends are in relationships with.
Yeah.
There's great. Like, I do think that there are amazing men.
Yeah.
There's just also terrible ones too. But
and does the Sun still do the topless?
No, it
page?
stopped.
It stopped. What year did it stop?
2015.
I mean, recently, 10 years ago. I don't accept that timeline. 2015 was not 10 years ago. It was 5 years ago. 2015 was 5 years ago. Lucy, fact check. Yeah, we just Googled it. It was 5 years ago. Oh my God. Okay, so 10 years ago, why did that happen? Was there like a debate in Britain? How did that shift over time?
There was actually a campaign called No More Page 3. That was
I think
going
I
on.
remember this actually, even though I'm like not even British.
And that was a few years before. And so I think they were getting a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And at some point they just realized actually it was quite outdated. And they just stopped. It just disappeared. It was just like never there again. They didn't talk about it. It just went in the middle of the night.
Wow. And how did that feel for you?
I kind of felt like it was about time. As an adult, I was like, this is nuts.
Yeah.
Like, this is insane that there is a woman topless on the third page of a national newspaper. Like, when you're eating breakfast, you're sitting here, and then you're like, oh, here's just like some tits, like, and some sports stats, and like what's happened in the world
in the
today.
world.
Oh, somebody got murdered, here's some tits.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it feels like it's time for, you know, society to move on.
Yeah.
But also sad because I think for a lot of women, it was an opportunity to kind of get out of their life circumstances. Although that has moved. So that's gone online. There is now OnlyFans.
Sure.
And in many ways, I think that women have much more control than they did working for a newspaper.
Yeah.
It's like they control their image and they make a lot more money.
I was going to say, because were you making good money?
Like, I was outside of page 3, but page 3 paid very little.
Really?
Yeah.
How much did it pay?
When I started, the girls made £250 for a shoot.
Oh my God.
And then it went up to $350.
That's not enough.
That's not
enough.
And then I think eventually it went up to $500.
Wow.
And but then for like some girls, they were working, it would be like twice a month. So it was like £1,000 a month, but that's still,
Yeah.
you know, it's not really changing your life.
Right.
You're not
Sure.
retiring after.
Sure.
And so, yeah, so little.
Do you know other models who were doing page 3? Like, was there competition
Yes.
between you? Was there solidarity? Did a lot of them come from working class background? Would you say that was like the typical?
I would say most, yes.
Wow.
Some were like middle, lower class, like,
Sure.
yeah. But a lot of the girls were working from working class backgrounds.
Wow. You were asked at one point if you were a feminist, right?
Yes.
And you talk about it in the book. You didn't know what that word meant. And so you said no. And then you received sort of this backlash at the time. And then it led you to then start going to the library. Our friend Leonard was like, literally, like, she just goes to the library and she like reads like Simone de Beauvoir and like bell hooks and, you know, all these feminist authors. That was your sort of journey to becoming a feminist, was being first sort of hated, or not hated, but, you know, whatever, online hate, backlash for not being one. And then through reading all of this literature, had, you know, sort of developed this feminist consciousness.
I think I was always a feminist.
Yeah,
I think when I look, and so much of the book is actually me just like exploring how I was a feminist in so many ways, but not having the language to identify.
Right.
It's like understanding that there's a difference is like between the way I'm treated and the way that a man is treated, or understanding what the limitations are for me, but not having the words to express.
Right.
And so, yeah, being asked if I'm a feminist and not knowing, thinking that it means nudist.
Oh, you thought it meant nudist?
I thought it meant nudist.
And you were like, no.
I was like, no. I literally was like, no, but I could see why people would think that I'm a feminist.
And then you get this backlash.
But it took me on such a journey to really trying to understand, like, what does this mean? And actually, what does that mean for society? And I think so much of my brain is like working, like the way in which I view is like going out and looking at the world and how we interact and like how these systems are set up and who they're designed to, you know, reward and who suffers because of these systems.
And what would you say to a woman, or I guess anybody, but, you know, who says that like you can't be a feminist and be a page 3, you know, model, or, you know, be a sort of topless model?
I think it comes back to what I said earlier, is that I don't necessarily think that topless modeling is a feminist act.
Yeah.
I think it just is an act of social mobility. And I think that you can. I mean, I think you can be a feminist and fight, but you're still living in a patriarchal capitalist system, right? Like, it's like we're not always going to be doing it by this invisible code of feminism. I think that well,
men objectify and monetize their bodies all the time. It's called sports. It's called the NFL. Okay. You know, and that's a sort of classic example that I remember learning in, like, you know, feminist theory that really helped me realize, and sort of my own biases when I was looking down on women using their bodies and using their bodies in order to make money. I literally had a sexist view. I had a patriarchal view of, even though I was a feminist, that sort of my perspective was for the benefit of women. It was actually just reinforcing this really misogynistic view that endangers women who are doing sex work, right? Endangers women who are in these professions, because it's upholding this idea that there's something wrong with it. You know, we just had Bree Stern on the show. She used to date Andrew Tate, and God bless her.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
She talks about how he uses the fact that she had an OnlyFans in order to discredit her as a person. Again, it's so rooted in like sexism, right? Because you have a body, I don't know, right? Like, because you're a woman, you're not believable, right? You're not trustworthy. He ran an OnlyFans business. Like, he basically ran webcam girl, right? Sort of business. So it's like, okay, you're going to look down on the employee, but not on the boss, like, who's like running the whole operation. And I think that so much of particularly men's discomfort with women monetizing their sexuality. They want to be sort of in control of what you're doing with your body. And so they might, like, again, sort of like your ex-boyfriend, maybe like it in certain instances, but then not in other ones. And I also think that they feel shame that they're buying it. Because this is the thing, whenever we talk about, oh, there's a million, you know, let's look at the number actually. There's an estimated 2 to 4 million creators who are registered on OnlyFans. And often people will be like, there's 2 to 4 million women who are, first of all, it's not all women, but it's primarily women. This is the center of our society. This is the end of our, and it's like, well, there are 4 million men, mostly men. Again, there are women who purchase OnlyFans too. All of those men are paying for it. We're so brainwashed to make women responsible for everything, even when they are literally either the victim, not saying that doing sex work means that you're a victim. In many instances, women want to do that, and that's great. In other instances, they have to do that, which, you know, is more sort of what you're describing, your journey was. And yeah, that we're like primed to see them as the cause of a system that they never created and that they're forced to survive in, you know?
Yes, I know. And then we shame them. I mean, men have like really figured it out. Like in some way, they're like, hey, let's make this system and actually we'll just like sexualize them. No, we're paying them money. Like, because they need a little bit. And then like, we're just going to shame them. No one's going to like think it's crazy.
Ask like, who's buying the magazine? Who is, right?
It's,
like
it's supply and demand.
It literally.
Like, I think, like I always say this with OnlyFans, I'm like, who are the men? Like, who are these like millions of men that are subscribing to these women's channels? Like, it's just crazy to me. I'm like, who are they?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm sure many of them are on their high horse saying this is bad, but they're actually like literally paying for it.
You know what I keep thinking about OnlyFans is like, I'd really like to see this happen, is a transfer of like kind of like generational wealth, right? Like Bad Bunny like posted how much she made, and I think it was like 55 million or something. We'll have to fact check.
She's an OnlyFans creator.
She was an OnlyFans creator, and I was like, if you make $55 million from OnlyFans, like that's generational life-changing money, and look at the wealth transfer that could happen, and actually then like society shifts. Like if women can make so much money from being sexualized in this oppressive system, then patriarchy crumbles under it, because they have so much money and then they don't have to do this. And then you could like, in my brain I was like, oh, how wonderful would it be if then you just set up all these women-led companies, you make all this money, and then you just like, you know, it's an egalitarian society.
Sure.
Like we've just changed it. We fixed it.
Yeah. And
I mean, this is wishful thinking, but
no, I don't think so at all. I think OnlyFans in many ways, I think OnlyFans, first of all, this might not be entirely true, but basically like there are no OnlyFans beat reporters, like is something I think about a lot, where there's a beat reporter for the stock market, for creators in general, for the, you know, tech, and even women and women's rights and human rights. OnlyFans creators are making and generating so much income, and yet they're not taken as seriously as other kinds of creators, which again, I would argue, if a man is streaming 8 hours a day and playing video games and like, you know what I mean? Like he's using his body too, and just in a different way.
I know.
And yet they sort of don't get the sort of same credibility, and I think admiration for being like business bitches, like being really good business women, and generating so much income, and how smart that is. So if you are an OnlyFans beat reporter, definitely sound off in the comments, but I've yet to meet one, and I've been fascinated by just sort of the way that people don't take it as seriously as like sports, when it's the same thing.
And also I think, like I always find this interesting with like male friends who will be like, oh, I can't date her, she does OnlyFans. And I'm like, why? And they're like, I just don't want to like, and that also I think is kind of what we were speaking about earlier. It's like with me, when I was sexualized, it's like there's something about it that men enjoy, because they're like, oh, well, we like what we're seeing. But also there is like this shame that kind of comes with it, which is really sad.
Well, you're supposed
misogyny that exists. And you're like,
well, you're supposed to be hot, and other men are supposed to desire you. That brings up a man in the hierarchy, but you're not supposed to make money off of it, right? You're not supposed to actually earn power, sort of influence and money through it. That then makes you, again, it sort of changes the dynamic, but which is insane, you know, like it's like crazy.
I know.
How did you like survive? Like dissociated during some of it? Like you talked about the fact that you compartmentalized a lot, or maybe you haven't even sort of unpacked that. It probably was pretty traumatic to be in that position and to become famous so quickly.
I started therapy, actually got court-ordered therapy when I was like 14, but then I started...
Why did you get court-ordered therapy?
I ended up very drunk, this is in the book, and assaulting 2 police officers drunk when I was 14.
Got it.
And I got court-ordered to go to therapy, but I went on my own accord when I was 18. So as soon as I started making money in modeling, I realized I was really unhappy. I was like very depressed, and I couldn't quite figure out, because also at a certain point, it's like you're ashamed, but then because you have monetary gain and also fame, it's like those things sort of outweigh. So like this like really weird kind of like feedback from people in terms of like friends, like family friends were just like, you've done so well, this is great, you've made it. And it was like, because I have money now and fame, like these things, like I'm so unhappy. Like I want to go like jump off a bridge. Like I don't know why society has led everyone to believe that these things are going to make you happy. And so then with also just like the image and being sexualized, like there was a lot going on that I went to therapy, also just not like a lot that I didn't understand. Just like, I don't even know what this feeling is. I don't even know what's happening. I just know that this
doesn't feel good.
Doesn't feel good. And there definitely was points in my early 20s after the tape happened where I was very suicidal. It's the only time in my life that I've ever been on antidepressants was then. I think it took me until probably like my mid-30s to get through any trauma.
Wow.
With it. And now I feel like, you know, it was like a part of my life that I'm like, wow, it's crazy. I can't believe I survived this.
Yeah. You're very resilient.
Yeah.
I mean, to have gone through everything you went through as a kid, to grow up in that kind of environment. Look at you. Like, look at how much you've accomplished and how far you've come, but it probably came at an immense cost. Were you well surrounded? Like, did you feel kind of on your own?
I felt kind of on my own.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely felt like isolating feeling because friends and family couldn't really understand. No one could really relate in any sort of meaningful way. And so then that also just makes you feel so incredibly isolated and alone. Because it's just like, oh, you can't understand why I'm feeling this. And also women are so taught to be grateful for everything.
Right.
It's like, you know, that's the thing. And it's like, if you're not grateful, you should be grateful. And especially men, like I always found at the time when I would speak about my problems with my job, I realized very quickly that if you spoke to a man about it, they'd be like, well, what would you be doing? You'd just be a hairdresser. So why are you complaining? And it was like my discomfort elicited the shame in them for enjoying my photographs.
Yes.
And so then it's like you have to tailor that because you can't speak openly. It's like I can't speak about how I'm feeling a way that's going to be received well because I'm supposed to be grateful because I'm a woman. I should be just like, it's like the best job ever, you know? And so then that's difficult with your silence in some way. Like I can speak out, but everybody's just going to be like, this bitch, she's just so ungrateful and why is she complaining?
Yep. Being a woman is just like everyone has an opinion about you. About everything you do. The amount of unsolicited advice I feel like that you end up receiving from I think everybody, you know, obviously I think there's a power dynamic between men and women, but I think what I've shared, right? Like I had a patriarchal programming that I didn't even realize I had. And so, we're so hard on women. We're really hard on women. Like there's almost nothing you can do like perfectly, right? Like even if and I think as women, we try and do everything perfectly and it drives us mad. That's why there's no need, don't be a perfectionist because people are going to find something wrong with what you do anyways. You know what I mean? Like there's no point. Do it imperfectly because people are going to find things that are wrong with it anyways. So you might as well have fun, you know, not kill yourself trying to be perfect because it probably won't work.
Exactly. I know. The strive for perfection. It just doesn't exist. Like, I think that's also like we've built industries around it. The whole beauty industry is built around this idea that you're just not ever going to be good enough. Like, no matter what.
And I think that fuels a lot of women's discomfort with your work or, you know, again, just sort of like women's bodies being, you know, used in advertisement and in movies and in sort of TV. I think women already feel this pressure to fit this or meet this ideal, which is so unrealistic. Like your body is unrealistic. It doesn't make, it's like you're phenomenal, but it's really like you, some of it is, I'm sure, through hard work of maintaining a really healthy lifestyle and all those things. A lot of it is also genetics and things you sort of can't control. I think there's a part of it. I mean, what would you call that? Jealousy? Like basically women sort of being resentful that you are meeting an ideal that they feel they'll never meet.
I think that feeling is present in every woman.
Yeah.
Like, and I do talk to this a little bit in the book about how the models for the most insecure women.
Yes, you'll ever meet.
You'd ever meet because like every single part of them is dissected. It's like, are her eyelashes long enough? What are her eyebrows like? What about the lip? And it's like every single point.
Right.
And so I think you're always living up. Like even, you know, myself who was like desired and on magazines for having a body that is celebrated, I guess.
Sure. Yeah.
It's like, I can also feel that. I can also look at women and be like, okay, my butt's not big enough. Like, she's incredible, you know, like, look at that body. Like, I just will never look like that. And I just think that that's what's built in. It does elicit this sense of maybe jealousy in women, because also that is what's desired. Like, when we think about romantic relationships and partnerships, men typically go for aesthetics. And so we're always kind of living up to this, just like wanting to be perfect and never feeling like we're ever going to achieve it or not. And there's always something that can be improved and always somebody that's just doing something better. It's fucking rough.
Maddening. I know. And I'll also say that women are so hard on we are so hard on ourselves, right? The way that we prioritize aesthetics and looks is because men, through nature and nurture, we're not going to get into that debate, but I think looks and appearance, I think, is more important to most men than it is for most women when they're seeking like a mate of the opposite sex. Meaning, like, I think even for gay men, like, in general, men do value appearance more than like women do. That's why you'll see the hottest women you'll ever see in your life with, you know, a dinky, like a guy, and you don't see the reverse as often. Sometimes you see it, and I'm always very proud of those men, but usually it's, you know, sort of the reverse. But my friend Dax Shepard said this to me once, and I repeat it to as many women as possible because I really think it's really, and every woman I've told them that it's been helpful. But basically, like, we overanalyze, oh, my thighs, or like
my knee.
My knee.
This, like, is it wrinkly? Like,
yes, your arms, like, oh my God, are my arms, like, I think Amy Schumer has a bit where she's like, she went to a, you know, Knicks game or something like that, and she was like, oh, I didn't know that you're supposed to, like, keep your arms out. Like, hot girls know that, like, you keep your arms out so that they don't look fat from the side.
Like, oh my God. But that is actually so true. I've never thought about that, but it's so true.
Right. And Dax said at the time, he was like, you know what, guys just care about the circles. And he was like, the boobs and the butt, like, we don't even see the rest. And I was like, oh, that's kind of like comforting in a weird way. Like, yeah, of course, I'm not saying that, like, men don't care about our weight. There's not a scrutinization of women's bodies, but I thought that was really like, sometimes I'll come back to it if I'm overanalyzing a small part of my body. Guys don't even care. And just, guys,
focus on the circles.
Would have sex with a tree. Like, they would.
That is true.
They would have sex with anything. And that is, you can fact check that. That's, verified.
They probably have. I think that
many. I'm sure men have had men have had sex with trees. Be careful. Don't hug trees, guys. Don't do that. We don't know what men have been doing with those trees.
That smell that comes out.
The smell. I literally was going to say the cum trees.
The cum trees, and you're like, oh, now it makes sense to the men.
Can't breathe when I'm near a cum tree. I can't. There's something. It just takes over for me. Maybe I'm allergic to them or something like that. I don't know why they smell like that, and I'm upset about it. Every time I'm like, oh my God, get me out of this.
Yeah, these
cum tree hole. No hate if there are cum trees or cum tree fans listening.
It's like a whole group that just like they just like start writing hate messages.
Yeah, you're allowed.
Leave the cum trees alone.
Yeah. So before we go, I do want to get into, you write in the book that you were the inspiration for a character on Ted Lasso, who is played by Juno Temple, and her name is Keeley, literally Keeley, but has a different name, Keeley Jones. Keeley Jones. And you actually tried out for the part and then didn't get the part that was inspired by you. What?
Yeah. When it's repeated back, it has more of an effect. I'm just like, oh yeah. Yeah, so the part was originally written for me to play myself. And then when it got...
And you knew Jason?
I knew Jason. We had worked together now seemingly 100 years ago. Okay. And sort of stayed in touch. And when he was like writing the show, had obviously thought about me, and he was like, I want you to play yourself, and I wrote this character, it's Keeley, it's playing you. But the show hadn't been sold, and they were shopping it around, and it eventually did. Like, there wasn't any buyers, and then there was, and then it all happened very quickly. And once that happened, it was like, oh, now, you know, you're gonna have to audition for it because we can't give it to you. And that's just kind of the way it works, I'm sure, as you know. Right. In Hollywood, it's like, we can't now, the studio owns it, you're gonna have to fight for the part. And I auditioned, and then they went out on a direct offer to Juno, who's, you know, a fantastic actress and has a great resume. And I was devastated.
I can't imagine what that felt like.
Yeah, I think it happens so much in the industry that people write parts for other people and they go to someone else.
Oh, okay.
But I think for this, it just because it was me and it was like my name, my identity. And I just think that there's so much identity in a name even. And that was worse. It was almost like a rejection of self.
Yeah.
Of just like, oh, I'm good enough to be this character that you can take inspiration from, but yet I'm not good enough to be...
To play it.
Play myself. I'm not good enough to play. Yeah. And so I think it just hit in so many ways, like a lot of insecurities I had, also just about like my own past. And it was, so there's this character that is called Keeley.
Wow. And when you go back to your past and like, what's the story you tell yourself when you're down in the dumps? What do you come back to that's like that underlying, darkness?
I think because my past has been so restricting, like there's been examples of it, of people being like, we can't hire you because, we've looked you up online and we don't really know like what it, especially in the US, because there isn't any page 3 and they don't really understand the concept of what my job was, and so they're a little bit like, were you a porn star, like what did you, and there is just unfortunately such a stigma surrounding that, and people don't want to hire someone that has this past that they have to sort of fight against, because there's thousands and thousands of people they could hire that don't have that, and it's much easier when you're a studio, it's less risk averse. But it doesn't happen if you're a man. So it's also like I think the story in which I tell myself is just I had to make this decision for my own survival, and the reason I'm here is only because of this, and now I'm trapped and no one sees it and understands. And that's, so the story there is just like, like what the system's so fucked. And as a byproduct of living in this system, that's always going to happen. And maybe I just need to come to terms with it, like, and accept it, versus feeling like it has anything to do with me when it doesn't.
Right. Were you able to have sort of closure from it, or?
Not really. And it's also hard because I think in terms of like art, right? Like I'm always like, whose right is it to tell someone's story? Like, and how I feel is like conflicted. Like I think for me, having a character that has my name is just really complicated and not desirable, because I'm also not a person that feels flattered by these things, right? But there is a universe in which somebody is, and they're like, this character's named after me. And for me, I'm like, great, if I can make money, like, if I was paid for this, then maybe I'd feel like great. But I also think that in terms of like storytelling, it's like, if you're a part of somebody's life, you're also like kind of a part of their story. In some ways they have a right to tell those stories. I don't know. So I don't know if there is closure.
Yeah. Have you watched the show?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're able to watch it and enjoy it, or it's complicated?
I think it's complicated.
Yeah.
I don't think I can get as much enjoyment as like other people can, because I'm close to it.
Yeah.
And I think I'll always, every time somebody says the name Keeley in the show, like, it's probably just always going to be painful in some way. It's also like given so many people joy.
Yeah. Well, it seems like you're able to hold a lot of different truths, it seems like throughout your life it's just been, it takes a lot of emotional maturity to do that, and it seems like that's just something that you've like had to do, unfortunately, but also like is part of that resilience.
Yes. And I think that also it's like, so many things can be true at once, right? And with the show, it's like it's complicated, and there's no absolute, there's no one thing, and and I think it's all just about holding space for all of those like thoughts and feelings and
nuance, a word that rarely shows up in 2025 in dialogue and in conversations. But I appreciate the nuance you've brought to this conversation, and to your contributions to feminist literature, your contributions to this podcast. Thank you for being so generous with your time. I loved this first date. Best first date of my life.
It's a great first date.
Yeah,
maybe we should have another one.
We should have another one, and you guys won't be invited. Sorry, but if we have a third one, then we'll do it live.
Okay.
How about that?
Yeah. Great.
We
should document them all.
We should document. Yeah, we'll document it. Maybe it's just not with like 3 cameras. We'll keep you guys posted. Thank you, Keeley.
Thank you.
It was so great hanging out with you.
Oh, I love it.
Thank you. So before we go, I do want to remind everybody that we are a homegrown grassroots podcast. Your reviews, your follows, your subscriptions, you sharing it with your friends means so much, because it means that we can reach more people, and maybe one day I won't have to do all of these interviews in my bed. And so we could afford a studio. Imagine that. So your Spotify comments always come up on my phone is the only notification I keep. I literally don't have notifications for like emails or like any other social media app because it's overwhelming. But your Spotify comments are so sweet. And so I wanted to read one of them. I kind of love this comment from Cassidy Wagner. She says, and she has a really cool profile pic. It looks like she should be on the cover of magazines. She says, love the pod and thankful for the well thought out and lived perspectives. We love that, Cassidy. Thank you for leaving this amazing comment. Keep them coming. And please keep submitting your problems for boy problems. For the people who are confused, Hopecore is part of the boy problems family, I guess. But we love your boy problems. Keep sending them and go buy Keeley's book. It's right here. Get it. Oh, and you want one too? Oh, you're pointing at it?
I'm just pointing at it.
Yeah, point at it.
Can I get one? Like,
yeah.
Is that how
yeah, we're
that
both
happens?
holding them like this. See? Da, 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 da. Get it wherever you buy your books. It's an incredible read. Our friend Franklin Leonard was like, I read it in one sitting. It is a page turner, obviously based on this interview. We like hardly got into the revenge porn of it, but you get into so much detail about, and you're so vulnerable with your experience, and it's so powerful and generous to be that open about all of your experiences. And it's a fun book. Also, the cover is great. It's just like a cute vibe. It's a really cute vibe. And it's an incredible read. So everyone should go buy it. Thank you, Keeley. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We'll see you next week. Bye.